Why, hello there, old sports, and welcome back to the monthly edition of Puppet Wraith Rambles about Five Nights at Freddy's for 20 minutes. In all seriousness, I would like to talk a little today about the communication problems FNaF has, and by extension the developers have to some extent as well. Now, if you've been keeping up with FNaF news recently, you may know about the Leon Riskin debacle. And if you aren't aware, Leon Riskin is the main composer for Five Nights at Freddy's, or he at least does most of the music for the games, is what I'm trying to get at. If you can think of music in the games, like starting from Sister Location onwards, Leon Riskin probably had a hand in making that. Now, for the sake of not wasting everyone's time, I won't recap everything, but I'll try to go over all the important bits. Mr. Riskin was working with someone on a project, and he was composing for it, and the thing is, there were some leitmotifs used in the music that was shown off that sounded similar to ones that were used in Five Nights at Freddy's games. There were also some acronyms associated with the project that had the letters FNaF, which most of you can think of as FNaF. So people were like, oh, is this a kind of a clue towards it being FNaF related? And the thing is, as more things went on, it kind of just escalated a bit, and then also during a recent charity livestream Dako was doing, Scott teased that something was coming in terms of a sequel and not a threequel or a third entry, which I think was supposed to be a hint saying, hey, something's getting a sequel and it isn't the movie, because the movie would obviously be that third entry, but he's referring to the second sequel to something. And then on February 5th, Mr. Riskin released a video teaser for said project, and everyone immediately jumped to it being FNaF, because I'm gonna be honest, given all of the previous quote-unquote context, it was a pretty comfortable assertion to make, or a pretty comfortable conclusion to come to. But on that same day, after everyone started making posts and comments and just various things about, oh wow, it's a new FNaF teaser, Mr. Riskin finally came forward and said, okay, this went too far, these are not FNaF related, nothing is related to Scott Cawthon or Steelwool, and he basically explained the whole situation and tried to apologize, saying that he was just sorry that he had misled or confused people. Now, obviously different people had different reactions to this, and I don't want to really focus too much on this specific thing right now, because I feel like this kind of speaks to a wider problem the FNaF community and the FNaF developers have in general, and that is a lack of communication, in and out of the games. After Mr. Riskin apologized and explained the whole scenario, for as many people who were kind of being like, oh, well, yeah, I do feel kind of like I was a bit misled, or I feel like this was leading somewhere else, there were just as many people I saw that were kind of looking down on those who felt like they got tricked and saying like, oh, this is never going to this was never going to be something FNaF related, this is kind of a dumb thing to fall for, or you shouldn't have fallen for anything because there was nothing to fall for, etc., etc. And while FNaF fans and the fandom at large can be borderline insane sometimes, I feel like that isn't necessarily completely their fault all of the time. I feel like any fandom will inevitably drive itself insane given enough time, and I feel like part of the responsibility of leading a fandom or being the figurehead of a fandom is to try to do what you can to curb that, or at least give people a reasonable expectation to follow, if that makes any sense. Now, obviously, I don't mean that if you make a game, you're now in charge of the people who go and do crazy stuff in your name, but I'm saying you should at least say you don't condone it. With all that being said, I feel like FNaF has kind of built up this culture around looking way too deep into things and beating every drop of information you can out of anything you can. And I feel like that kind of causes some problems when you're starting to look at things outside of the games, because FNaF has done ARGs before, and when the fandom has gotten so used to stuff like that, I feel like it is somewhat reasonable that they would think that something that isn't related to FNaF is related to FNaF just because it shares some things that look vaguely FNaF adjacent if you're already in that point of view. Adding on to that, it took a while before anyone associated with FNaF officially actually said something. And I do feel like maybe Mr. Riskin didn't handle this whole scenario the best he could have, but I don't really have any hate towards him or whatever. Obviously, I feel like he just made a mistake, and then things kind of grew out of his control, and he just had to say something. But why didn't Scott say anything? Why didn't someone from Steelwool say anything? Why didn't the official Twitter account say anything? I feel like there's multiple people who could have said, hey, just a heads up, this isn't related to FNaF, this is his own project or something unrelated. Please do not go into this with unrealistic expectations. And to piggyback off of that last point, I feel like the FNaF Scott Games Twitter account probably should be used more, because the thing is, I feel like when the 10th anniversary came around and this whole account was kind of announced and put before us, I had this expectation that this would be the main source of official FNaF news, but I feel like it hasn't been used as much as it should have, if that makes any sense. And I understand, if you don't have anything to show off, you don't have to show off things. Like, if the current game they're working on, if they are working on a game, doesn't have much to show yet physically, yeah, you don't need to show things, but maybe just saying occasionally, if a situation like this crops up, going on that Twitter account and saying that, hey, right now we're not working on anything official, thank you for your time, or something. I don't know, I guess I just feel like the official Scott Games Twitter account probably could be doing something more than it is right now, but then again, I'm not running a multimedia franchise, so what do I know? I'm not sure who's watching this video who remembers this, but there was that kind of, I don't know if hoax is the right word, but there was the Chica's Party World or something like that website that came up a little while ago, and people thought that was official until the people behind the website had to say, yeah, no, this is just a fan thing, we're sorry for misleading people. And no one associated with any of the official FNaF stuff said anything, and I feel like it caused some more problems than it really needed to. And I feel like there is some sort of deep irony here that both in and out of games, getting any straight answer from this franchise is like getting blood from a stone, but I digress. I guess my main problem here is that Scott said he was going to step back after the whole donation controversy, but the thing is, it feels like he hasn't actually committed to that, so it feels like he's in this in-between state between being a part of the community and just kind of being part of the background, and I feel like he needs to make a decision and stick with it at this point, because it's only causing problems. FNaF is barely an indie franchise anymore, and I feel like it can't really get away with just only sharing things through darkened teasers and source code hints like it used to. It's grown beyond that in a sense, and I feel like it or not, like I said, things need to grow and change, and if FNaF wants to be a bigger franchise, it needs to take on some of the responsibilities that come with that. I really do love FNaF deeply, don't get me wrong. I just feel like the series is kind of going through some growing pains at the moment. And I feel like the series is trying to operate the same way it always has, but both the series itself and the general internet landscape has changed so much in the last decade that I feel like that just doesn't really work as much anymore. Recently, the developers of Poppy Playtime, Mob Entertainment, have been releasing a lot of these like VHS analog horror type videos to lead up to the release of Chapter 5 to Poppy Playtime. And honestly, it's been amazing. I don't even really care about Poppy Playtime, but they're really putting effort into this, and it's really good marketing. And even if they don't go the analog horror route, FNaF can do something similar, because leading up to the console release of Secret of the Mimic, Steelwool was posting all these amazing little mini animations to hype up the game. And I was wondering, and I saw a lot of other people wondering this too, why didn't you do these when the original game on PC was coming out? Because I feel like, especially after the mess that was Security Breach, you wanted to get people hyped as much as you could for Secret of the Mimic. And honestly, I just feel like it's a bit confusing to put all this power and effort into the console release and not the general release, but hey, what do I know? Again, I don't think any of this is any way malicious. Like I said, I think it's just growing pains, because for so long, even after the series got so big, the same things and same tactics still worked, but now they're not. So I feel like it's just the series having a harder time adjusting to change, but maybe I'm giving them too much benefit of the doubt. I don't know. Now, obviously, there is the possibility that Scott and Steelwool are busy with various other things that we don't even really need to know about, but even then, there's plenty of big community figures who would be more than willing to step up and do some sort of like PR marketing work, and I bet you wouldn't even have to really pay them that much if that's what they're worried about, which I doubt. But I guess my point here is that there's people in this community who do a good job of relaying FNaF related news, so at this point might as well just give them the keys to the Twitter account and just have them help out if you can't handle it by yourself. But again, what do I know? I don't do anything important. I just make stupid YouTube videos complaining about things or playing games in wrong ways, so I am very much out of my area of expertise here. So to wrap things up, while I do think the FNaF fandom can be pretty insane sometimes, I do feel like they've only gotten to that point because both in and out of universe, the people behind the series refuse to give any straight answers to any questions, so of course people are going to start doing what they can to fill in the blanks. And if you're not going to say anything about it, then I don't really blame the people themselves that much. Going forward, I guess I just feel like FNaF would benefit from being a bit more transparent both in and out of the games, and you can still keep the mystery that makes the series so special in the games, but I guess my point is just that communication is usually a virtue. With all that being said, I would like to thank you for your time today and for watching the video. I would like to do more Five Nights at Freddy's related videos in the future, so if you have any challenge run ideas you would like to see me attempt, I could always do that. In addition, I would also like to thank my 4 YouTube channel members and my 1 Patreon member for their continued financial support. It means the world to me. And of course, I appreciate just you even giving me some of your time to watch this video. Thank you again. With all that being said, I keep saying that for no reason. With all that being said, have a good day and good night.